Let me introduce you to Diego Guitierrez Zalvidar now. He's been involved in disruptive technologies for over 20 years. Was one of the lead entrepreneurs at the web in Argentina in the early 90s. And it's been involved in disruptive technologies since then. He's the co-founder of Coinbanks. He also helped to build the Argentina Bitcoin community, which is one of the 5 largest communities worldwide. He also helped to build another 10 communities around Latin America. And as a consequence, he's part of the founding team of the Bitcoin Argentina NGO and also the Latin American Bitcoin NGO. So now we're gonna move to a quick video explaining the blockchain.
The idea is you will see that the blockchain will pop up, the concept of the blockchain will pop up in many talks, if not all of them. So the idea is to get out of the technical aspects of the blockchain and get into the more conceptual aspects. I think Alexandre did a very good work telling why the blockchain is secure, why it's cryptographically impervious to attacks. And now that we assume, if you want to get deeper into the technical aspects, there's a lot of information, but now that we already covered the more technical aspects, the idea is to start getting into the conceptual aspects of why Bitcoin as a technology has the potential that we think it has, that goes far beyond its usage as a currency or as a payment system. So,
what if there's a technological advancement so powerful that it transforms the very basic pillars of our society? A technology which fundamentally influences the way that our economy, governance systems, and businesses function, and could change our conceptual understanding of trade, ownership, and trust. This technology already exists, and it's called cryptocurrency. People often think of Bitcoin as only virtual money or a transaction system. But if you look closer, you'll see that the monetary aspect is just the tip of the iceberg. That's because Bitcoin is a groundbreaking internet technology for which money is merely one of the possible applications. Money exists to facilitate trade. Through the centuries, trade has become incredibly complex. Everyone trades with everyone worldwide. Trade is recorded in bookkeeping, and this information is often isolated and closed to the public. For this reason, we use third parties and middlemen we trust to facilitate and approve our transactions. Think of governments, banks, accountants, notaries, and the paper money in your wallet. We call these trusted third parties. This brings us to the essence of Bitcoin. Bitcoin software enables a network of computers to maintain a collective bookkeeping via the internet. This bookkeeping is neither closed nor in control of one party. Rather, it is public and available in one digital ledger, which is fully distributed across the network. We call this the blockchain. In the blockchain, all transactions are logged, including information on the time, date, participants, and amount of every single transaction. Each node in the network owns a full copy of the blockchain. On the basis of complicated, state-of-the-art mathematical principles, the transactions are verified by the so-called Bitcoin miners, who maintain the ledger. The mathematical principles also ensure that these nodes automatically and continuously agree about the current state of the ledger and every transaction in it. If anyone attempts to corrupt a transaction, the nodes will not arrive at a consensus, and hence will refuse to incorporate the transaction in the blockchain. So every transaction is public, and thousands of nodes unanimously agree that a transaction has occurred on date X at time Y. It's almost like there's a notary present at every transaction. This way, everyone has access to a shared single source of truth. This is why we can always trust the blockchain. The ledger doesn't care whether a Bitcoin represents a certain amount of euros or dollars, or anything else of value, or property for that matter. Users can decide for themselves what a unit of Bitcoin represents. A Bitcoin is divisible in 100 million units. and each unit is both individually identifiable and programmable. This means that users can assign properties to each unit. Users can program a unit to represent a eurocent, or a share in a company, a kilowatt-hour of energy, or a digital certificate of ownership. Because of this, Bitcoin is much more than simply money and payments. A Bitcoin can represent many kinds of property: 1,000 barrels of oil, award credits, or a vote during elections, for example. Moreover, Bitcoin allows us to make our currency smarter and to automize our cash and money flows. Imagine a healthcare allowance in dollars or euros that can only be used to pay for healthcare at certified parties. In this case, whether someone actually follows the rules is no longer verified in the bureaucratic process afterwards. You simply program these rules into the money. Ergo, compliancy up front. The unit can even be programmed in such a way that it will automatically return to the provider if the receiver doesn't use it after a certain amount of time. This way, the provider can ensure that allowances are not hoarded. A company can control its spending in the same way, by programming budgets for salaries, machinery, materials, and maintenance so that the respective money is specified and cannot be spent on other things. Automizing such matters leads to a considerable decrease in bureaucracy, which saves accountants, controllers, and the organization in general an incredible amount of time. The programmable open character of Bitcoin allows us to completely rebuild and innovate our financial sector and our administrative processes, make them more efficient and transparent, and significantly decrease bureaucracy. But there's more. In an Internet of Things, our economy will be dealing with machines that actively participate in the economic traffic. In fact, they're already here. Think of a vending machine, or drones delivering packages. These machines are unfamiliar with the concept of trust, but Bitcoin is not. Because of Bitcoin, the drone can be 100% certain that it will deliver the package to the right recipient and know for sure that it's been paid for. And we can program the vending machine in such a way that it will automatically keep track of its supplies, order new supplies from the supplier, and pay for them automatically. Of course, you'll understand that this is only the beginning. Internet technology is disruptive and breaks the status quo. It opens markets and breaks the positions of middlemen all the time. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies have caused a paradigm shift. It's time to explore this new technology constructively and critically, and openly discuss potential applications.
Okay, so more information. And we'll keep going like that. The idea of my presentation is go over the key points of the video and explain them in more detail. I think, okay. Yeah. So, as the video said, Bitcoin as a currency or as a payment system or network is just the tip of the iceberg. But what lies underneath is the blockchain. And to understand what is the blockchain, we need to understand also how it's used. But if we go to the very basics of blockchain, the blockchain and the Bitcoin network is only two things. It's a ledger, a secure ledger, a ledger we can trust that nobody will tweak, nobody will, remove transactions already been validated, and a consensus network that takes care and secures that ledger. So a consensus network is obviously the key part of blockchain, and is the innovation in Bitcoin and in blockchain, is a network of many computers interconnected around the globe, where no single computer has a superior power over its peers. So any computer, in the Bitcoin network is unequal. So they are agreeing, that's why it's called a consensus network, on who will be the next to write the next page on the ledger. So the blockchain is just that. It's a ledger, like an accounting ledger, that registers the whole history of transactions of Bitcoin since its beginning to date, and this network that takes care of that ledger, that secures that ledger. So, if it's that simple, why it matters? No? I mean, why this makes any difference to what we already had? We had Excel, we have databases. So until now, I mean, I could say, you could say or think that, a ledger is not such a thing, but the main problem, as the video states, is that until now, the only way we could transfer value between peers on a global scale was trusting a third party. It was Marco Polo, giving you, I don't know, a check or the equivalent of the gold you leave in Venice to be cashed out in China to buy silk. It were the banknotes backed by gold in the 1800, in the 1700. So now it's Visa, MasterCard, central banks. So basically, that's the true change in Bitcoin. It's a trustless network. It's a network that doesn't need to trust a particular individual, server, or institution. And Ripple or Stellar were mentioned. Those are crypto technologies that all use other consensus systems. But the thing is, those technologies rely on a company, for example, for its development. So if a central bank of a country will decide to use any platform, any cryptographic platform, they won't use something based on a company, on a private interest. What they will use is a network that is neutral. So that neutrality of the Bitcoin network is what makes it valuable. Vires in numeris, strength in numbers. Basically, what we are saying here is we don't trust any entity, we just trust the numbers. We trust the mathematics that runs the system. Mathematics don't lie, don't have personal interest. They just behave as we expect them to behave. And then we have the transparency of the blockchain. This is not only a ledger that stays on a server in a closed environment. This is a ledger that is open to the world. So anybody can see what's happening on the ledger in real time. So we don't need to trust the other to know that the transaction he said he made was done. I just can go to the ledger and check it by myself. So that transparency opens the door to many usages that are not possible if the ledger is behind closed doors. With gold, I mean, why the gold standard was broke? Basically, after Bretton Woods, we had the dollar backed by the gold, as Gabriel already stated. But then people started suspecting that the US was issuing more dollars than the gold they have in Fort Knox. So they were saying, give me back the gold, give me back the gold, give me back. And then Nixon said, no. Okay, let's break this, because I don't have the gold to give you all back your gold. It was a joke, yes. Let's go back to there. So the difference with this is if we start using Bitcoin as a new gold standard, is that it has a transparency where we can see that the backing is there in real time. The auditing of the Bitcoin network is totally transparent. So there's no lying, there's no personal interest in play. It's just mathematics and an open ledger. But Bitcoin brings another feature to what we call money. There is the attribute of being programmable. With programmability and an open ledger, what we have is fluid money. Until now, we thought of money as a discrete thing. You pay wages every month, you pay, the TV subscription every month. And why you do that? basically because the accounting of paying per minute, per second, or paying just when you use it, and the cost of transferring that money is prohibitive. With Bitcoin, that's no longer so. So a worker can pass his card at the end of the day and get his wage just for the hours he worked. So that freedom in money, has never been seen. And then on top of this programmable money, we can build what is called a smart contract. What is a contract? A contract is basically a program between two people or two parties in the legal system. That's what contracts are. It's just a program. It says, if this happens, then this has to happen. If this happens, then this other thing has to happen. So why not take those contracts that were in paper and take them to a programming language? And if those contracts can manage money, as we have programmable money now, then there's no limitations to what you can do. And we go one level further, and we connect hardware or things to those smart contracts. So suddenly, that little car we have there is a self-drive car from Google. That thing just goes by itself, doesn't have a driver. So we paint it as a taxi, we put a wallet, and this thing will roam around the Sao Paulo streets, picking up customers, taking them to their destination, and getting the money at the end of the trip. And once per day, once per week, on whenever we decide, he will pay dividends to the owners of the Google taxi. And at the end of the month, the accounting will be done automatically. There's no accounting process because everything is in the open ledger. And I think you might be thinking this guy drink too much coffee over there, but these things I'm talking are not futuristic. We have the car already existing these days. We have the technology in Bitcoin to do this. We might do it better in the future, yes. But everything needed to have a Google taxi exists today. And then, I think I'm running out of time, but then we have a refutable registry of rights. So basically what we are saying is, I can prove that I own this thing. Basically in the shape of a token within the Bitcoin network. So I take one Bitcoin and put a special color to it, and that Bitcoin represents the shares of my company. That Bitcoin represents a vote. That Bitcoin represents the land, the property, the land property title. Then we can also record in an irrefutable way a signature, like a hash, that's like a little representation of a huge document into the blockchain, and demonstrate that we had that document without a single comma moved to the left or the right at that point in time. So if I have a pharmaceutical invention or a new drug, I can prove that I had it at that point in time. So this concept is very powerful. It's not that notaries are going to disappear. It's just that they will be used when they will be needed, when they link the physical world to this universal registry, not every time after. So it will change. Again, Bitcoin is not going against the system that we already have. It's just making it better. So we'll have improvements in every area of the human development. And finally, what personally I feel more compelling about this technology, we are seeing a huge increase in access to smartphones. Smartphone is no longer luxury. By 2019, half of the unbanked will have a smartphone in their hands. Bitcoins, the smart contracts, And the systems we can build, if the regulations come together with us, can change the life of half the population, the unbanked population. So we can give them access to credit, we can give them a savings account. Now they have to put the money under the mattress and pray that when they go to work, nobody will get inside their house and rob them. So imagine what would be for a poor person that has no way of saving, no way of access to credit, social entrepreneurs that are stuck because the lack of financing. Imagine enabling them to have financing and also to build a reputation. That reputation will be more important than their identities, physical identities, because that will be how they behave in the system, how they behave. If you have a good behavior, you are trusted. It's more important than what's your ID, how you behave. So that's basically what I see the blockchain enabling, and thank you for listening.